Hi, I'm Amanda from ADHOME Marketing, and this is my webinar talking about creating a holistic approach to marketing your home service business. So whether you're a plumber, a roofer, an electrician, or you own an HVAC company, this strategy will apply. I'm going to talk about all of the different types of digital marketing that you can use for your business. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do we go about creating a strategy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to determine your goals. We're going to help you design a marketing budget, using our theory of how to create a marketing budget. We're going to discuss the website, branding, lead generation. We'll get into what SEO is. We'll discuss creative options, and then we'll answer any questions at the end. Okay, so step one is we have to determine your goals. Are you building a brand for people to be customers tomorrow? And are you running lead generation for customers today? Are you filling up your schedule today, or are you worried about filling up your schedule for tomorrow? Most home service businesses will tell me both. So it's important that we talk about building your brand and then also lead generation. How do we know if it's working? The first thing is with building your brand. What I'd like to do is before you set any intention, any marketing campaign with a strategy, you got to go, what am I trying to achieve? So you always want to have key performance indicators for every campaign that you have. How many impressions were served is a very good indicator of, how much is my brand in the market. Brand recall surveys are really great if you want to see how your digital branding has been going. You can use YouTube is a really good option for that. They can have the multiple choice answers of what brand have you seen in the last week. Your revenue. If your revenue is consistently increasing, your branding is working. And then, let's just look at in Google Analytics, direct traffic to your website, and we'll get through that in this webinar as well. For lead generation, it's a little bit easier to determine what you're trying to achieve. Did they call your business? Did they fill out a form? Did they do a live chat? Of course, increase in revenue. And then a larger new customer intake is a really good indication of how your lead generation is going. At this point, if you do not have call tracking or form tracking on your website, please get it. Google it, call tracking for my website. It's very, very easy technology, but it'll allow you to see how much return you're getting on your advertising, how many visitors are turning into an actual phone call. You track your CSR close rate, you track your technician upsell rate, you track your sales close rate. Why aren't you tracking your website conversion rate? It's just as important. Okay, so step two, so designing your marketing budget. We're going to talk a little bit about math right now, but it'll make sense, so, hopefully. So your annual revenue versus growth target. So let's say this business does $1 million in revenue, and their target for the end of the year is 1.5. So they're targeting for a $500,000 increase in revenue. Well, their current marketing percentage budget is 10% of the current revenue they expect to get back. So they had $1 million in revenue. They're wanting to grow it to 1.5 million. So they take 10% of the current existing revenue because it's easier to get it again. And then they know it costs more to acquire new customers. So they're willing to spend a little bit more on their growth marketing percentage. So they apply a 15% to the 500,000 in new revenue. So we quickly do the math. 10% of $1 million and 15% of 500,000 gives us our marketing budget of 175,000. Now, this is one way to determine a marketing budget. We really like this because it allows flexibility, right? So you know how much it cost you last year to acquire the first $1 million. That's your percentage that you would apply to your current marketing budget. You did that last year. Maybe you want to decrease it a little bit because you're anticipating a lot of that coming back through free email or referral programs. You know your business, you know what's going to come back to you the next year. But I always recommend applying a larger marketing percentage to where you want to go, your growth marketing, because it's going to cost more the first year to acquire a new customer. So you would go 175,000 divided by 1.5 million to give you a 12% overall marketing cost. So you wouldn't end the year at a 15% marketing cost. because you're amalgamating the two percentages. Definitely look at your marketing budget every quarter and see, hey, can I capitalize on this wicked year I'm having? Definitely don't set and forget your marketing budget once a year. It's important that you're constantly going back and looking at it. Okay, so we've determined your goals. We've created your budget. Now we got to look at the foundation of all of your marketing, which is your website. So your website is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week salesperson. Your website is always on. They're the salesperson that always is working for you. So that, they don't take vacation, they don't call in sick, they don't call in hungover. This is where you should be focusing a lot of your attention. It's the absolute first impression for a business. When we're looking at the effectiveness of a website, we look at, what is the goal of each page? And on a home service website, it's really easy to determine. A home page, it is supposed to direct a user to one of the service pages. They don't need all of your services at once. They need one specific service, unless you upsell them or whatever. But they think they only need one service. A service page is supposed to get calls. So that's your sales page. It needs to have a lot of call to actions, very specific targeted content that's written to as a sales pitch. So often I see home service businesses that just think by having a page talking about plumbing, that's good enough for SEO, and that is not good enough. Google looks at the value of the page to decide whether it ranks you or not. Photos of what you've done, or images of the service manager in the plumbing department, or testimonials, reviews, all of these things are very important, and they go to helping a homeowner make a decision on who they're going to hire. What do you wish you could say to every homeowner in your city the first second they hear about your business? That's what that service page should talk about. It should be a sales pitch. So, bring your sales guys in a room, get your marketing team in a room, and let them collaborate. What have you been saying on the market that's allowing you to win bids? What has your customers been worried about? Who's beating you? Why are they beating you? Get your marketing team involved with your sales staff, and then write that service page. It's important because it's your first sales pitch. So an information page is a blog page, an education center, an about us page, a finance page, something that is not a service page, not a sales page. And in this scenario, it's not about call to actions. It's not about selling. It's not about a sales pitch. It all goes to somebody's decision, but it's about information and it's about interactions. If you can get somebody to click a video and watch it, go down and fill out a form to be on your newsletter, you've won. That's the exact goal of an information page. Google Analytics. It's free. You can add it to your website. It's one line of code. You can give access to your marketing team. You can give access to whoever you need. It stays on your site forever. If you build a new site, you should use the same Google Analytics code for historical data. What I love Google Analytics for is, where are users coming from is a really good question to ask yourself. You're spending $1,000 on Facebook, $1,000 on Instagram. Where are you getting the most traffic? Which one are you getting the most traffic from? Or let's say even organically, you're posting more on Instagram than you are on Facebook. Why are you getting more traffic from Facebook? Why aren't you putting more energy into there? So it's important to know where your users are coming from. What they do when they get to your site. Yes, you can figure out, what pages they visited. You can see the page that has the largest drop off. So why did they leave my site? Which page did they leave my site most often? Did they complete the goal? So did they phone you? Did they fill out a form submission? Did they start with a live chat? Did they become a customer? So that's honestly what everything can tell you in Google Analytics. And you can also pull information from Service Titan or Successware or House Call Pro back into Google Analytics, and you're able to sort of see a little bit more of a holistic picture, so that you can see, what kind of traffic sources are actually getting the return on investment the most. I would also recommend getting heat map tracking software. It tracks all of the interactions within your site, where people are clicking. You can see where they stopped scrolling when they left your site. It's very important. You can see what's working, what's not. Okay, so it's important that we talk about conversion rate at this point. I talk about it a lot. What is a conversion rate for your website? Out of 100 users to your website, how many of them called you? And so if it's 10, you have a 10% conversion rate. It's pretty simple, but you can't determine that unless you have call tracking on your website. Okay, so awesome. So we've determined our goals, we've created our budget, we've determined the website efficacy and how to adjust it. So looking at heat map tracking, looking at Google Analytics, seeing what's working, seeing where they're clicking on your site. This is all important information for you to know. It's your sales training, right? You would train your home comfort advisors no different than you would constantly be training your website or your marketing team to be looking at the data and analyzing it and adjusting it. The next step is, okay, let's choose our platforms. We know who our demographic is going to be. We know, we want to target homeowners. And so, let's just look at a couple of the options for digital platforms. Today, we're going to talk, about branding. So we have Google display ads, social media ads, and I really want to talk about YouTube ads. And then for lead generation, we're going to talk about Google pay-per-click. We'll get into SEO as well a little bit later as well. The Google Display Network are just anybody who owns a website and wants to make money off of it. They would, apply for the Google Display Network, and all of these ads would then appear because of who is visiting the site. It's not necessarily that an advertiser goes to the weather network and asks to have an ad right on the site. It's that they go to Google and say, I want to target this type of person. And then that ad is now shown to the person that they're targeting. So it's very similar if you were a digital or a billboards, right? So let's say, this person driving by this same billboard, wouldn't it be great if it displayed a plumber ad, because this billboard knows that this person's in the market for a plumber? No different than the same billboard displays a car at the same time to this guy because he's in the market for a car. That's the power of the Google Display Network, of digital branding now. We know what somebody is looking for. We know all about everything that they're doing. We're in the market. We know if they're in the market for what you've done. We know if they've just done a Google search for your brand, your service. We can target them with specific advertising. So yes, the purpose of display advertising is definitely general branding recognition. But like I was talking about, you can target from demographic, you can target areas of the city. So if we know that these 5 neighborhoods have 15-year-old furnaces, let's target an ad that's more aggressive, because they're probably going to need a new furnace when you go for a repair, and you really want to market in those areas. And then, of course, remarketing is a little bit different, but remarketing is, those ads that seem to be stalking you or following you around. So a remarketing ad is when somebody visits your site, leaves, and then you show them a specific ad. So if they went to your, electrical panel upgrade page, great. Now you know to hit them with an ad that talks about electrical panel upgrades. Whenever we're talking about targeting, it's really important that we discuss affinities. Like, what affinities are interests. Jeff, they wouldn't tell us who it is, but this person visits classic car websites. So now you could say he's a classic car enthusiast. Versus Jill, she visits a lot of like Auto Trader and buy and sell websites that are, it's clear that she's actually looking for a vehicle right now in the market, as opposed to somebody who's looking at car sites. Google knows the difference between that they're looking for a specific purpose. So now Jeff would be lumped under an affinity called classic car enthusiast, whereas Jill would be in market for a vehicle. Always do remarketing. Absolutely. What do you have to lose? This person is your demographic because they visited your website. So remarketing, somebody goes to your website, they leave, they now see your brand, your ads over and over and over again. And again, you can target them based off of the page that they landed on. Okay, so these are all of the affinities. Not all of them, this is just some, but I just wanted to kind of explain, when we're being lumped under interests or affinities, what we have to work with from a targeting perspective. So we'll just quickly go through this, but when we're talking about KPIs or what metrics to determine if your advertising is working, impressions, clicks, and click-through rates. Those are the three big ones. So impressions are how many times did your ad appear on someone's screen? The clicks are how many, did someone click on your ad? And when they click your ad, you get to tell the user where they're going to go. So if you're sending out a plumbing ad, definitely don't direct them to the homepage. Definitely direct them to the plumbing page on your website. You get a far higher chance of somebody converting if they see an ad and then the page that they get directed to talks about what they were just clicking on. The click-through rate is really just clicks divided by impressions. So it's just sort of a ratio to determine which ad is performing better. And I like benchmarks. With a $1,000 spend, you should bring in about 80,000 impressions. With $1,000 spend on clicks, about 240 clicks you should see. So that's 240 people clicking an ad going to your website. And I like to say a good click-through rate for ads as a rule of thumb is 0.30%. So, you can kind of say if you're with your marketing agency and they're not bringing you at least 80,000 impressions, why not? If they're not being clicked on, why not? Maybe you need to add an image of a button or something so that people click it more. This is a good way of you determining effectiveness of your ads. Facebook advertising, there's lots of types of Facebook ads. So we're not talking about Facebook organic. Facebook organic is when you open up Facebook and you just type a post. So you haven't boosted it, you haven't put money behind it, and the people that see it are at very best the people that have liked your business page, but Facebook likes you spending money on ads. So actually it's only being seen by maybe 10% of the people that actually like your page, because Google is trying to promote you to spend more money with them. Advertising gets the message out. You can decide how many people see it. You can decide who gets to see it. Maybe you can add this into your remarketing. So they've been to your website, they go to Facebook, and now they see your ad on Facebook. So these are really good tactics. We're just going to talk briefly about some of the creative ideas that you can do for Facebook advertising. So the first one is an image ad. Facebook does not like embedded text over top of these images. And so what you do is you enter in your headlines above and below. And then you create a CTA or a button if they want to go to a certain page on your website. And then you don't even need to include your logo. A little bit of branding is nice just so that you're branding and customizing the image, but your logo does appear in the ad already. A video ad is very similar looking. The difference is that it has a play symbol overlay, and you can actually upload videos and they play either instantly on somebody's screen or they have to wait until they hit the play button. Video ads on Facebook, they look very similar to an image ad, the same layout, same format. You still include text or promo text. I like video on Instagram and Facebook more because you're able to tell a longer story. If you do television ads or if you did a spot on the local news, you can recreate it into a format that's good for social media, and it just adds that extra clout to your business that you were on TV and you just showed people on social media. And I like it because it's displayed on both mobile and desktop. You can either create a panoramic view and split them into individual image ads and then string them together like this ad is showing you here. Or it can be an image of your fleet. That's a really good one. If you're wanting to show that you have a large fleet, have them all lined up in front of your building and do a panoramic photo of all of them and then do a carousel ad of that to show that you have, we're always on standby. We have guys all over the city, etc. Or if you wanted to put individual images of roofs that you've done or shingles that you guys carry or whatever that looks like, then that's a really good option for you. And then you can boost your posts. So we talked about organic post. That's when you just go on your Facebook and you upload a photo, put a little caption about it, and hit post. Then there's usually an option to boost it. So there's this little button that appears when you're doing a post or right before you do a post. When you click that, it'll give you, this is really zoomed out, but it'll give you an option to choose how many people see it. It'll also give you very specific targeting options, very similar to a Facebook ad. So you can turn a regular post into a Facebook ad at any time. What I like to do when I'm determining what posts to boost is look at the engagement of your post organically. So if if 100 people saw it organically by the post and you had 10 people comment, like, or share it, that's a 10% engagement rate versus one that had 15 people share it or 20 people share it. That's a higher engagement rate. So boost the second post as opposed to the first one. And then that way it allows you to sort of allocate your budget to the creative that's working the best. Metrics to care about, it's a little bit different than display. So an impression is how many times your ad appeared. Results are how many people it appeared to. So your ad could appear 3 times to one person. So it's interesting to see the difference in the correlation between impressions and results. Clicks all are the number of times people clicked your ad and interacted with it some way. And depending on what your goal of that ad is, you set that parameter when you're building that ad. And then your audience. So you always want to know, hey, who did this ad get served to? I like to sort of say, if you spend $1,000 on Facebook, you should be getting about 100,000 impressions, or 30,000 people, in and around there would get your ad delivered to them. YouTube is the number 2 search engine, and it's because people are going there to ask questions to YouTube in hopes that, someone's created a weird video about, how to install rubber shingles onto a roof. And, wouldn't it be great if you were a roofing company, if you gave them that information? Yes, I know you don't want anybody up on their own roof fixing shingles, but word the content in such a way that it gives them advice and information. But then you say, you know what, you shouldn't be doing this on your own though. We're in your neighborhood, we're in your town, call us, we're going to come over, we'll give you a fair quote. But now you're at least giving advice to the homeowner for free without them having to actually pay you for it. That's really valuable information. And it's what I'm doing right now. I'm creating education and giving it out for free in hopes to talk to clients and be able to reach them on a level without constantly selling to them with 30% off, 20% off. That's not how people become brand loyalists. They become loyal to a brand because you're helping them out when they need you the most. So YouTube is really, really good for advertising. So I'm doing a search on YouTube for, doesn't matter, funny cat videos or whatever. Remember, YouTube is owned by Google. So Google knows everything about what you've searched in the last week, what you're searching for the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever. And so it knows where you are in your life. Okay, so if you wanted to target somebody who just moved in, okay, you know that they've been looking on moving sites. They've probably been researching new homes to buy. Google knows all of those triggers. And then we know when they just moved into a home because we can kind of time that out. So maybe you hit them with a duct cleaning ad for, did you just move in? Duct cleaning is really good for cleaning out all that gross stuff that you clean out with duct cleaning. Who are we targeting is more important than where we're targeting. YouTube is every TV station in the world, and you get to target just your customers. And you only pay when somebody watches 30 seconds or the whole thing. And when you do, you're paying like 30 cents. So I know if I have a 30-second ad, I don't pay at all until they watch the entire video. And I already know that I've targeted the exact right person. They're homeowners. They're probably, you can also geo-target neighborhoods for YouTube ads. So I'm only showing this ad to homes that would probably have an 18-year-old roof. And so I'm going to show them an ad with a call to action because I know they're going to need our service within the next year or two. YouTube metrics to care about. So impressions, number of times your ad appeared, views. So the number of users who watch 30 seconds or the entire video. And then you're always going to have a button on the video because it's an ad. So you want someone to click it and visit a certain page on your website. So if you're targeting a specific service like furnace tune-ups or electrical panel upgrades or whatever that is, make sure that when they click that video, they get directed to that service page. Okay, so we're going to talk about lead generation. So lead generation is be there when someone is looking for your type of service or product. So the good old days, was the yellow pages. Nobody opened a yellow pages until they absolutely needed a service. They needed a phone number. Now, obviously, yellow pages aren't the same at all. So what do? They go to Google. They're typing in a query like plumber Cleveland, and then they're picking from the list there. When you look at the first page of Google, think about it as a full page ad in a yellow pages. Or the top of the page is going to get clicked on far more than anybody on page 2. 93% of people doing a Google search will not go to page 2. They think that Google is smart, so smart that if you don't see what you're looking for on the first page, you must have typed something in wrong. And so most people will actually retype in what they're searching for on Google. So Google pay-per-click advertising, if you're in the home service business and you don't know what pay-per-click advertising is, definitely book a call with me. Here's a bit of a rundown. So somebody does a search for a service and a location. If they don't put a location, it looks at your IP, so it knows your location. And then what it does is it displays advertising. These advertisers are in an auction right now. And so Action Furnace is bidding more for this click. They're hoping to get a click. And they don't pay to be here. They're not paying to have this placement. And they only get charged when someone clicks that ad and goes to the website or the web page you want them to go to. In this case, obviously you want them to go to the air conditioning installation page. Action Furnace shows up first because they told Google, I'm willing to spend, let's say $20 when someone clicks this ad. Whereas Reliance is saying, I'm willing to pay $19. And Arby's is saying, I'm willing to pay $18, and so on and so forth. So Google knows that Action Furnace was willing to pay a little bit more for this, so it shows that advertiser first. But again, remember, that advertiser doesn't pay to be there. They only pay when someone clicks the ad and goes to the website. So you get to decide as an advertiser what keywords you're showing for. And with reason, you know that nobody's going to do this search unless they're looking for an air conditioner to be installed. And so you know that you're showing your ad to the right person, in the right city, at the right time, and then you get to decide how much you pay to have that customer come to your website. Yes, an advertiser gets to set bids for how much you want to spend. You set your daily budgets and you set up different campaigns per product or service. So if somebody's doing a search for furnace repair, you want the ads to talk about furnace repair. If someone's doing a search for furnace install, you want the ads to talk about, your equipment install promo. If somebody is doing a search for your brand name and you're going to run ads for your brand name, which is a very good strategy and a lot of companies do utilize that. Hopefully your competitors aren't bidding on your business name, but oftentimes they do. And so putting an ad out for your own business name, you want the headline to be your business name because they've physically searched that into Google. They're looking for a result that has what they just typed into Google. Okay, so let's say your average customer is worth $1,000. Your website hypothetically converts at 10%. So again, out of 100 people that visited your website, 10 people called you. And let's say your marketing budget, you've said, I want to go aggressive this year. I want my marketing budget to be 12%. And we always need to understand how your specific business is converting operationally for each business unit, because we have to operate each business unit under its own budgets. You have such a discrepancy between what, a maintenance job brings you in revenue versus an install job would bring you in revenue. So we always ask the question, what are your sales teams converting at? Let's do some math. $1,000 a customer times 12%. So that means I'm willing, or you're willing, to spend $120 in marketing investment to acquire a $1,000 customer. At a 10% conversion rate, 20 clicks to your website got you 2 calls, and because your sales team closes at 50%, that means you got 1 sale. So it takes 20 clicks to get $1,000. I want 20 clicks to the website, but I know I can only spend $120 max. So what this allows us to do is to determine what maximum you can spend on a click. And if you have to spend more, make that business decision consciously. Oftentimes, it doesn't make sense for you to spend more to be first, but it makes sense for you to spend a little bit more to be second or third. So if your max click budget is $6, there's a couple things you can do. Like maybe you might not be there might not be any available keywords that cost $6 for a click. That's very often the case in home services. So what are the options? Well, if we increase our website conversion rate, great. I don't need as many clicks to get a sale. If I increase my sales close rate, great. I close more of the calls that are getting to my CSRs. So operationally, we can affect that. Yes, you can increase your marketing budget if you want to, but that's not helping you because the money's in the margins. So it's very important that your marketing team knows what your margins are and what your threshold is. Don't just look at your average revenue from that service. Look at also the percentage of repair jobs that convert into an equipment sale. And that'll allow you to determine, hey, I can spend a little bit more on repair jobs because I know that 40% of my repair jobs convert into an upgrade in an equipment sale. How much should I spend on Google Ads? So how many customers do you want per day, right? So you look at your schedule tomorrow and you say, okay, so I typically can service 5 more customers. I can sell 5 more time slots in my service schedule tomorrow. So we know that 100 clicks turns into 5 customers because we just determined that. And we know that you can only spend $6 on a click. So it's very simple math. You want 100 clicks to your website in order to get 5 customers, and you're only allowed to spend $6 a click. So your budget is $600 a day, and that will bring you 5 customers. Now remember, each customer is worth $1,000 to you. So you converted 5 customers after paying $600. You've achieved your 12% marketing cost. Right? So if you brought in an average revenue of $5,000 from that job and you only spent $600 to get those 5 customers, your ROI is $4,400 gross, which means that you did achieve your 12% marketing cost because you kept your bid at $6 a click. What we would like to do is to turn your budget up as high as we can to capitalize on all the leads, and you only shut off your ads when your schedule is full for the next 2 days. So you're not having guys sit around. There's nothing worse than having empty spots in your schedule. You'd rather pay more money for a lead on Google than you would to have that spot empty. Absolutely, because you're not even competing at that point if your budget runs out. You're telling Google, I don't even want any more leads today. Increase your budget to a point where you're going to fill your schedule and then pause your ads right away. So SEO is search engine optimization, the process of making your website relevant to Google. So why should you care? Okay, so on a Google search page, air conditioning install Calgary, I've scrolled down. So this is actually the maps and lower. Above here would be ads. So this is a scroll down version of a Google page. So your organic section is your maps, and of course right below your maps. Typically, search engine optimization is on-site and off-site changes. So on-site means let's add a bunch of content, a bunch of education pieces about the topics I want Google to appear me for. So if you want to appear for new roof and your city, definitely make sure there's content on your website about new roofs. If you want to show up for a furnace tune-up, make sure you have an individual page about a furnace tune-up, because you're trying to show up against all these other businesses that have individual pages and have built, blog after blog after blog talking about furnace tune-ups. How do you expect to outrank them when you don't even have your own page about tune-ups? And then, of course, offsite, we hear about backlinks and we hear about article creation. This is really like going to a home improvement site. They have a blog post, and now you're asking them to reference a link back to your site or back to one of your blog posts. So what happens is Google reads your website, and then it reads all the other websites online, and it says, hey, this website's about plumbing in Cleveland, but all of these sites are also voting that this is a really good source. Google's saying to itself, I'm going to place this website higher on a Google page because more users are going to be happy that I've served them this website. So we've determined your goals, we've created your budget, we've determined, how well your website is converting, and you're working on adjusting that. You've chosen your platforms to run your ads. Now it's time to talk about your creative. It's not about creating the coolest, flashiest ad. It rarely is that. It always should be about how well is it working. When we're looking at creating your entire marketing budget, make sure you always allocate a percentage of that for photography, for headshots or video or whatever, to get creative assets for social media, for your website, for your blog, for videos on YouTube. Make sure you include a percentage of your entire marketing budget towards creative. So speak to your audience, know who your ad is showing to, and write copy for them. We talk about neighborhood targeting, and we say, hey, this neighborhood has 18-year-old roofs. Well, write the copy to somebody that's probably going to need to replace their roof soon. I have roofing clients where it's hurricane season or it's tornado season. And so when a tornado happens or a hurricane happens, we launch an ad saying, hey, did the hurricane affect your roof? We got you covered. So then that way people are going, oh yeah, it did. It was another thing I have to deal with. And so they get served ads because we know that in that area a hurricane hit. Keep it as simple as possible. I think one of the best ads that I ever ran was, need a plumber, ? We got him. And the button was, we got them. So people clicked it, and it converted the best out of all ads that I had. All the creative minds that went into it. A got milk slogan worked the best. So definitely invest in good content for video. So yeah, keep all creative messaging the same across all of your platforms. So if you have a campaign and you get text message alerts, you send text message alerts to the homeowner before the technician arrives. Create an ad that fits on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, your website, your blog, in a text message format, whatever, because it costs way less to get your content resized to all of these platforms. And you don't need to necessarily post them all at the same time. You absolutely can, because there's different users for each. But now you've just created 5 pieces of content instead of just one. But you want to keep your creative messaging the same across all platforms. So don't have mixed messaging. The one thing I would say is if you have a promotion, keep that consistent amongst all platforms, because people do go to Facebook or Instagram or your website. And if you have different individual messages for what your promotion is of that time, it's confusing. So I always say, you're not competing against ABC Plumbing down the street. You're competing against, funny kittens, funny cat videos, kids coming off anesthesia, car accident videos, which is apparently a big thing, and all of your competition. But when you're advertising, you have to be memorable, because we're consuming so much content in a minute, in a second. On any given page, we have an ad, we have a video, we have a scroller, we have a pop-up, and these are being shown to us all day long. So you have to stand out, you have to be memorable. An informational ad of you standing in front of a truck saying, we have the best quality and best service in Cleveland. I don't know why I keep saying Cleveland, but it's not going to go anywhere. No one's going to remember it. You have to be memorable, but you also have to be professional, because remember, you're asking them to let you into their home. So what type of person would a stay-at-home mom with a sleeping baby allow into their home? That's something you have to always remember, but make sure you do something creative that's not like everybody else. And then, of course, report what worked, and the things that didn't work, adjust. So analytics will tell you what you need to know. Know where your traffic is coming from. Know how much converts into a call. Spend your advertising on mediums that bring in traffic that converts. So, track your conversions from Facebook compared to your conversions from Google Display and decide, hey, which one? I spent $1,000 on each platform. Which one brought me more calls? Don't make that your only determining factor, but definitely know that call tracking is that sophisticated that it can tell you where your phone call, where the original click came from. Adjust your ads, placement, and targeting, or your website to increase your ROI. So make sure every single quarter, at very least, you look at your heat map tracking, you look at your Google Analytics, you have your sales staff and your marketing team in a room, and you're saying what worked, what didn't work. What are the sales staff getting beat up on in the market, or what are homeowners worried about right now? And that is going to help drive your marketing for the next season. Be curious. Always ask yourself, how can it be better? If you have a 25% conversion rate on your website, which is what we aim for sure, 1 out of 4 users will turn into a customer, how can you get it to 26%? And always ask yourself that. How can our CSRs answer the phone better? How can our sales guys close better?